Warning. What you're about to hear is not the story of a raid. It's the story of how a single Viking commander broke the most important city in Western Europe without destroying it. Paris, year 845 AD. At dawn, the River Seine looked calm, too calm. Fog clung to the water like breath on cold glass. And then the river moved. 120 longships cut through the mist, not rushing, not shouting, rowing in perfect silence. At their head stood Ragnar Lothbrok. Not a king, not a legend, just a man who understood something his enemies didn't. That cities don't fall because of walls, they fall because of fear. Paris had walls, strong ones, stone towers, iron chains stretched across the river to block the ships. Inside the city, Frankish soldiers laughed. They pointed at the chain. They thought the river had saved them. Ragnar stood on his ship and watched. He didn't attack, he didn't threaten, he didn't rush. Instead, he waited. Days passed. Then something strange happened. The Viking fleet began to retreat. Oars dipped backward, ships turned away. The Franks cheered from the walls. They thought the danger had passed. That was Ragnar's first victory, because while Paris celebrated, Ragnar planned. That night, fires burned low on the longships. Men whispered, not about glory, not about gold, about death. Ragnar knew the city couldn't be taken by force, so he chose deception. He let sickness spread through his camp, not by accident, by design. Bodies were left visible, weakness was displayed, rumors were carried on the wind. And then Ragnar collapsed. Word reached Paris quickly. The Viking leader is dying. Priests thanked God. Soldiers relaxed their grip on their spears. Days later, Viking envoys approached the gates. They carried a body wrapped in cloth. Their request was simple. Let us bury our dead in holy ground. Let our leader rest as a Christian. The gates opened. The body was carried into the city, through narrow streets, past silent crowds, into a cathedral built of stone and faith. Candles flickered, prayers began, and then the cloth moved. Ragnar rose, eyes open, alive. Steel flashed, priests froze, guards screamed. Before Paris understood what was happening, the gates were already opening from the inside. The river flooded with longships. Chaos exploded. But Ragnar did not order a massacre. He watched, because something else began to spread faster than fear. Disease. Frankish soldiers fell ill, barracks filled with coughing men. Priests whispered prayers they didn't believe would work. Paris wasn't losing a battle, it was losing control. King Charles the Bald knew it. He sat in his palace, surrounded by advisors shouting over one another, and realized something terrifying. Paris could survive destruction, but it could not survive Ragnar. So he paid. 7,000 pounds of silver, an unimaginable sum. Chests were stacked high, coins spilled like water, the price of peace. Ragnar accepted it, and then he left. No final attack, no last insult, no burning of the city. The longships turned downstream, silver aboard, Paris still standing, but changed forever. Because Europe learned something that year, that Vikings were not just raiders, they were strategists, psychologists, masters of pressure. Ragnar Lothbrok did not conquer Paris, he did something worse. He proved it could fall. And from that moment on, every river became a road of fear. Every foggy dawn carried a question: are they coming back? History would argue about Ragnar, debate his death, blur the line between man and myth, but Paris remembered him clearly, not as a monster, but as a warning. And warnings last longer than legends.